Hello, listener, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Keeping Up Appearances podcast, full of opinion, debate, and football trivia with a hint of nostalgia. I'm Callum Murray, and here with me is
Sean O'Hara,
Bob Gall,
and Michael Tosh.
They say not to judge a book by its cover, but we might judge a player by their appearance. Let's get into it.
It's Carter, what's he going to do? Ready! Jackson Ready! Oh, yes!
Did Zidane win?
Yeah,
Get in.
that's what it was. It was supposed to be the obvious one, so he did cheat a bit there, but
Yeah, imagine picking the obvious one. Never do that, would you?
well, you've picked Pogba, so
yeah.
Nobody mentioned Pogba once before I mentioned him today.
because it just went without saying.
In hindsight, you know what we should have done? This week would have been a good week to do. We all pick an Everton one as well for the 5th. What Bob's already doing an Everton one, isn't he? So
Well, I can go James McFadden. We can have multiple Everton ones if you want.
Are you actually doing Rooney, Bob?
Yeah.
Was it really that bad of a return, Rooney?
Yeah, because he was shipped off after a year.
favourite for the podcast.
Yeah, so funny. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'll say
Yeah,
it.
that
All
will-
the golden content.
I'll
I'm
rattle
not-
you in the concept in
No,
the podcast. Well.
No, I'm not going to slag Rooney off. It's just the way it worked with just how much of a mess Everton are. It could.
Yeah, I think it's a
it
good
should
one,
have. It should have been better. And
I think we should have signed another 5 number 10s that transfer window, actually. I think that would have made it better.
all with absolutely nay pace as well.
We used to have a team of number 10s. And now the number 10 position doesn't exist anymore. Everton ruined that for football. In one transfer window.
Yeah, one of them we had to release for free because of criminal charges as well. So.
Davy Klassen.
Criminal charges to go and ball Davy Klassen. Who's he playing for? Is he playing for someone Inter Milan or something? No,
Inter Milan, yeah. He had a productive spell back at Ajax, then signed for Inter in the summer.
Human managing them as well, or?
I don't think so.
Bacon face.
Chip without mayo, though, Tosh.
Yeah, that was a classic.
Pop that in there with the bacon one. So you know the like the ones where like the girls are walking to like the lift.
Yeah,
What would you say? And loads of them at Steve Bruce.
Could have the John Stones on for that as well, couldn't you?
That'd be me when Hutchie's on.
No one, you'd just be talking about crisps.
That's true, actually. Nobody's ready for an expert. He's been dabbling with that fella, doesn't know his stuff.
Kindred spirits.
Come to a man who's done a 6-pack multi-pack before 9 a.m. That's what he knows what he's done. You know what he's dealing with.
Come on, Sean.
Who would you have gone for Everton return if you were doing an Everton?
Like as in a bad return.
Yeah.
Have we?
Manuel Fernandes was pretty bad.
I was going to say, has there been? There's a couple of decent ones. Like if it would have been a good one, like I would like Landon Donovan return was quite.
No, nothing. I don't think anything's nothing's topping Pienaar, surely.
Yeah, no, to me, Pienaar. Yeah, I think the best returns have been Pienaar, Rooney, and there's Donovan was good, Pienaar was good. Have we signed that many though? Has there been many?
Alan Stubbs.
Yeah, Alan Stubbs wasn't actually dreadful though, was he? To be fair.
No, he was good. I was saying good one. We signed did Unsworth leave for like a month or something as well? Like,
that's a good point. I was going to say Unsworth for coming back for about 7 spells, caretaker manager.
Bullying under 23s.
That's actually a thing. Rumours.
Oh, can't be said whipping out slander on the thing.
I didn't say it.
You still got footy tonight, Carl, yeah?
Yep.
You can't call it off a waterlogged pitch if it's on Astro, can you?
Is it still raining? I think it's meant to stop, isn't it?
I've had a waterlog called off waterlogged on Astro turf before.
Have you?
Mid-game.
Yeah.
Midnight at the Sealy. I think it might have been just before half time or after half time. There's a big puddle in the goal. Just before the goal.
Yeah.
The referee called it. We were getting beat as well. It was great.
Take that. Then out that keeper was pouring bottles of water on the floor to get his ball off.
Well, it was our keeper who sort of told the rep as well, so they were calling us like grasses and everything. We were straight off for a brekkie. The best performance of the season.
Tesco or
No, it was Weatherspoons, I think.
disappointing.
Oh, do you reckon he's going to go past 5 o'clock today?
Getting close.
Why was he early last week? There's the question.
Was it half term?
No.
No. Oh, was he maybe? Did he have stuff to do for the house? Maybe she got from
So
work.
he can get back for that, can he?
Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
Then he whinges at me if I don't immediately send him the recording.
He's got a bloody nerve, that lad.
And he's got a nuthead.
Looks a bit like him, actually.
Could change his name to Marrowed.
So he just learned to stay in Marrodona's little boots.
They're not Puma though.
That's a good point. Aldi specials then.
The boots or
Both.
was it Hanley's boots that were homemade or a school
School
shoes?
shoes. What a shout that was.
Very good.
I reckon that show pops into my head on a weekly basis.
I always remember just someone just like as we were walking down the corridor, someone like saying to Mitchell, like, "Hey mate," just pointing at them like, "What the F are they?" You know, it was obviously before one of those, but it's just like he said, like, no, just a random lad pointing at his shoes.
Did Mitchell have a fight with him?
No, I don't think so. I think you'd know about it if he did.
We would have mentioned it 100 times.
Be on his box rec, his record.
Sean's connection's not looking good here.
I know, yeah. And it's Hannah joining as well.
Then you have said from the start, I think the podcast would be better without him.
Is anyone going to start editing then?
Yeah, well, I haven't got that in my locker, to be fair.
And neither have I.
You can still edit it.
What?
You can still edit
right,
it.
okay. Yeah.
And you can have 5% when we go big.
3.
I can't believe it. I might have the second best connection in this.
Right.
Can't hear you, Sean.
You can't hear me.
I can.
I think Bob can as well.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Right.
Just about to finish now, Sean.
I was actually going to text you and say just start. You might as well.
We mentioned Pogba,
What about him?
that he was the obvious choice, so we've done that segment, or started that segment anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point really talking about that. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? So
Are we actually going to have an obvious one? Or
we're going to have to, aren't we?
I was saying this would have been a good week to have an Everton one. As the fifth one, when we did that one week.
So like a bad return for Everton.
But Bob's already doing Rooney, so he can't really have 2 Everton. We're already getting the fans
Should we-
saying it's 2 Everton biased.
I reckon Lukaku's got to be the obvious one, surely.
You can talk about that one then, since you're so confident.
No, you're all right, actually.
I because they've been raving about his performances in Italy again, haven't they? So I reckon that's quite topical that he's like now back on form.
Yeah, and Mourinho kissed his head the other day, didn't he? So
Did he?
something like that.
Give me 1 minute.
What the hell, Tosh?
He's got a Lukaku book, hasn't he?
Who would
what I've got.
I go for? I'm not talking about Rooney.
What?
Why and how have you got that?
Yeah, where'd you get that from?
I didn't
Amazon.
agree.
Yeah.
Made it.
What?
Someone's made it. Obviously, one of the fans. No, Lucy got it.
Yeah.
So
that's
good.
right.
I get us all one.
That's pasta.
It's my birthday in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, Christmas before that as well. Double. Someone will probably be making them before them once we hit it big.
Yeah, probably.
This will be the unofficial stuff.
Yeah,
That is great. That, to be fair.
We'll be starting.
Yeah, go on.
What was the game?
Wolves, wasn't it?
Wolves, yeah.
Sean got the score right as well.
Okay, I'll pass over to Sean
No, don't. It's going to be a good one, this, I can tell.
So, welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up Appearances. Again, back to the squad of 4, but we might have some guests over the next couple of weeks, which you can look forward to. Got a nice Marooned 5 topic lined up that's quite topical in line with the news. And yeah, obviously ending with the game of Keeping Up Appearances. Of course, there is no big game this weekend with it being an international break, but we will have an international themed Keeping Up Appearances. Before that, let's review quite a shock result from the weekend just gone. We will, however, before we start, review, quite a shocking result at the weekend, which was Wolves' win against Tottenham. I will pass you over to Sean, who's looking very, very pleased with himself and smug with a prediction that he pulled out of nowhere, but somehow got right.
I don't think you look smug there, Sean.
No, I was looking bored.
Yeah, you look gormless, if anything.
Yeah, I was catching up on Twitter and listening to Callum bore me to death. Very cool. Yeah, obviously I got the correct result, which I was quite happy with at the time when that winner went in. I was buzzing, but I did actually only go for 2-1 because Tosh went 1-1. I think.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, so I can't take too much
Tosh
credit.
gets the assist.
Yeah, he can have it. That's happened once before this series, anyway. Don't know why I said series, season. So yeah, I was buzzing, to be fair, when it went in. It wasn't the most exciting game, but it was an enjoyable game, I thought. Tottenham, tried to maintain the Tottenham systems that they've been playing so far this season with a squad that didn't really look up to it. 3 of the back 4 were brand new, as in this season anyway. And I think it seems a lot more dramatic than it actually was for me anyway, because I felt like if Tottenham were playing against a better team, I don't think that would have been in question. He wouldn't have needed it to score 2 goals in the 90 odd minutes anyway. I thought Wolves were so sloppy, first half in particular. Obviously, Tottenham went 1-0 up really early. And then Wolves, they were the better team. But every time they kind of broke, it just fell apart with a little misplaced pass or the wrong decision. I just thought they were quite poor in possession to the point where going in 1-0 at half time, Tottenham must have been made up. And it almost kind of, flattered Tottenham a little bit. And then second half, again, I thought it continued in the same vein. But then obviously, Gary O'Neill made those substitutions right at the end of the game. And the 2 of them ended up combining really to win them the match. That first goal, I don't know if you have seen it, but I thought that first goal was unbelievable. Everything about it was just so pleasing on the eye, wasn't it? Just when it's in slow motion as well, and he takes that touch, and while it's still floating, he just levels himself with that volley. I just thought it was boss. And then the scenes when that winner went in, it was quality. So yeah. I thought it was really good end to the game, but I don't necessarily think it needed to be that way. I think another better team or a more clinical team would have punished Tottenham a lot earlier on, in fairness.
Yeah, probably you could be right, John, to be fair. To be honest, you mentioned Gary O'Neill there with making those subs that won him the game. I'm happy for him, to be honest. Probably a bit harshly treated by Bournemouth, to be fair, to be sacked. But yeah, he's been a bit up and down at Wolves, but I don't know, he seems quite a likeable character. He seems to get a couple of half decent results here and there. Yeah, it may be interesting to see if they now sort of take a bit of a step up after that result. It's a big result for them, isn't it? And to do it in that manner is definitely big for a squad.
I think we mentioned it last week that they've tended to raise the game in them big matches. They've obviously beaten Man City, took Liverpool to the last minute. They obviously should have, similar to what Sean said, squandered a lot of chances against Manchester United.
They beat us as well.
Yeah, well, that was one of the few small teams they've done well against. But they've obviously dropped points against Sheffield United and Luton. So I don't know. It is that thing. He seems to be able to manage a big game. He comes across very well. I think when he was on Monday Night Football, very tactical. And I think I don't know whether this might be random, but I just don't know. It just feels like he's that sort of manager where he loves to trying to go up against the top managers. He seems to be a very big thinker when he was talking about all his tactics and all the video sessions he gave access to. Seems to be like someone who like maybe he thrives on that big occasion, the chance of going up against Ange and Pep and Klopp and people like that. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they've had some dodgy decisions recently, I think, and you feel like a bit of sort of justice there that because they did squander a lot of chances again. I think if you were to look at the stats, I imagine it was pretty one-sided. Tottenham scoring the early goal and settling on it. I think Tottenham started this point. I think they got a few positions second half where not necessarily resulting in shots, but like positions where they had like 3-on-2 or 3-on-3, where you usually expect them to be a bit better. But I think with the players they're missing, they were always going to struggle really, and particularly late on in the game where Wolves came on. And I think as Sean mentioned, just a fantastic goal, the first one. And someone like him, you think of where he's been, like I think PSG and Sevilla, and it's mad that he's playing for Wolves really and not really starting for Wolves. I remember, you hear about him from a few years ago, so good for him. Hopefully he kicks on, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the way Tottenham go now. 2 bad results after an unbelievable start. Is this a bit of a slide, or can they pick it back up when the suspensions come back and the injuries come back?
Yeah, it's always going to be a tough one for them to be able to deal with those suspensions in the short term, but then those injuries in the long term, isn't it? I think obviously Maddison and that Van der Veen possibly until January, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're 2 big misses, and especially with the way they play, it does seem a bit like if you are taking out those first sort of 11, then it seems to be so key. Those players are obviously so key to that system. Maybe it just doesn't work as well. I think maybe Sean kind of said earlier, but yeah, they'll definitely be looking forward to the return of those players.
I think with the exception of like Son as well, just to go on that point, sorry, Callum, like I think, you could see like they were looking for Maddison when they just didn't have that spark, and then likewise to play the defence the way they've done without that Van der Ven and his pace. It's like you arguably couldn't have picked 2 players to be missing worse. Like obviously you could take a couple of others who've been very good for them, but Basuma's been great, but he probably could replace them, whereas them 2 you just haven't got another player like Maddison anywhere near that caliber, and the same with the pace and the power of Van der Ven. When Romero comes back, might be a bit better, but I think just to play the way Ange wants to play, he's going to struggle to do that with Eric Dyer at the back.
Is it one of them? No, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about if Ange will stick with this no matter what. At what point do we start criticising them for that? When you think, do you know if like you've got say like a Sean Dyche kind of team, you'd always accuse them of they don't change the system. They play the same way against different teams. Just because he's playing exciting football doesn't mean you should still do that, especially when you haven't got the players. Do you know what I mean? You think if he plays a different system there with the players he's got, could win that game. So at what point do we, I don't know, criticise him for
March?
Oh, specifically March. Have you got a date?
Yeah,
I've
St.
written that
Patrick's
down.
Day.
St. Patrick's Day. All right.
17th. I've just written that down, Sean. So I made a note. March.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Yeah, I can't wait to
think
slag him off that day.
I think it's that one. But point you're right. I think it's a good point, Sean. I think for me, it's obviously it's sort of with people like him. It's sort of a long term thing, isn't it? So I think at the end of the season, you can make a judgment, and even with Tottenham, no one was expecting Tottenham to get in the 4 this year. I don't think. I think it won't be it'll be a sign of progression. You've already seen them signs of progression with them. And again, you are right. They're not going to allow, getting beat 4-1 and getting beat 2-1 in injury time when you win them 1-0 every single week. But obviously, yeah, I think Tottenham fans would like to think they're extremes. Like the 4-1 against Chelsea was just a ridiculous game. That's, you're not going to concede 2 goals in injury time every week. You'd like to think the bigger picture would be that. But, if the results keep going like that, then questions will start coming. I think you already see it a bit on the internet and a bit on podcasts. There's a bit of sort of from other teams fans about Ange, the way everyone loves him. That's what happens, isn't it? You go very quickly from everyone loving him to everyone can't wait to see you fail. I think that happened a bit with Klopp, wasn't it? When Klopp came, he was like the darling, wasn't he? Everyone loved Klopp, and now it's when he's like shouting at the crowd or where his press conferences, everyone's laughing at him. Really, I'm desperate for him to fail. Not me. I still love him.
Better date for that is 26th of January. That's Australia Day.
Oh,
Like to
okay.
start critiquing and
Ah,
making
it's
a
Yeah,
good.
note.
We're
we're
going
not
to kick him when he's
recording that
down
day,
there,
then.
aren't we? Having a great day, and we just bring him down.
Well, it depends how well he's doing. You can either rave about him or question his loyalty to his system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. What do we talk? What do we say about Tim Cahill that day?
Oh, stop myself swearing there. Say
Still an
what you
Everton
want.
legend on that day.
Still a massive fraud on that day.
Well, I think Ange will be looking forward to being able to have Maddison and Van der Veen return. On the topic of
Oh, yeah,
returns,
they'll be back by 26th of January.
Oh, that was the smoothest link ever. You've just ruined it.
Get in. Sorry, Cal. Go again.
so I'm sure Ange will be looking forward to being able to have James. I'm sure Ange will be looking forward to being able to have both Maddison and Van der Veen return to the team in January or earlier, possibly. On the topic of returns, I will hand you over to Tosh to introduce our Marooned 5 for this week.
Here's Cal. Just a quick recap of last week, just to announce the results. Probably our biggest amount of votes and probably our closest one so far, with resulting in Zinedine Zidane being sent to the island to join Marco van Basten, Jason Kumas, and all the other great footballers who are there. So well done to Callum, who suggested that one. This week, as Callum's hinted at, a lovely little segue there, we're going to look at returns. The reason being, I'm sure it didn't go unnoticed to most people, a certain former Prime Minister returning to one of the highest positions in government. So what we're going to look at are bad returns. So people whose returns didn't quite go as planned, as we're hoping David Cameron's won't. So let's go. We'll go to the thing. We'll discuss the obvious one last, maybe, because we're not really sure there is much of an obvious one. But let's see. You haven't gone first. Reek, I went first last week. Bob, go on, you start us off.
Okay. So mine's a bit of a mixed return, really, because the season he did have, I think he was our top scorer, largely playing from central midfield as well. I'm obviously going for a sentimental Everton return. I'm going to go for Wayne Rooney, who came back to Everton, I think, just after he'd become Man United's record goal scorer. The highlight of his return was arguably the video announcing it. I think if I was to watch it now, I'd still get emotional watching it back years later. And I say that because the game he scored his hat-trick and scored from the halfway line, I actually missed that game because it gave me ticket away because I'm a charitable chap. I think the flaw in it was that it was such a sentimental return, really. It was very, very Bill Kenwright to bring him back when he did. And initially it did look like it was going well. But Everton were in such a mess. He ended up in a team with, I think, 14 other number 10s, some of them fairly questionable. I think it ended up quite sad, really, in that he was shipped out after one season, becoming the top scorer for that year, and we've been a mess ever since. So I don't think anyone imagined it'd end the way it did. And yeah, I'll go Wayne Rooney for that reason.
Anyone, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe as Bob's kind of said, in theory, it was possibly like quite a good signing. I don't know. I think it could have went really well. I think
we just Evertoned it, didn't we? We
yeah,
bought the greatest English player ever back, and
it's just not
we
a very
made
good
a mess of it.
Yeah, not a very good period for us as a club, was it? And I think they played under a couple of managers, Koeman and Allardyce, was it?
Yeah.
Obviously, he scored a few important goals. Then he scored the goal in the derby at Anfield, and obviously that hat trick of West Ham. Obviously, the goal from the own half is just unbelievable. It just probably just didn't take off as we maybe hoped. I don't think he was bad for us. I think he was actually quite good. I think, but maybe just didn't work out as they possibly would have hoped. And with it only lasting a year and stuff, it was not probably quite the dream homecoming. But
yeah, that's why I'm saying it, really, because it was almost like a reverse of like him leaving the first time in fairly bitter circumstances that we kind of shipped him out, probably before he wanted to go again, almost returning the favour.
I was going to say that again. When we were signing him, I was sort of a bit I was actually, I like you mentioned the video because the video was the first sign of one. So I was sort of thinking he chose to leave Everton. I know things have come out since that. Perhaps he was sort of pushed out the door, but I don't know.
I reckon it took me 3 or 4 years to stop despising him. Then I warmed to him quite quickly. Then when he played at Ferguson's testimonial, I was pretty convinced he was coming back at some stage after that.
Yeah,
I was made up to see him back, and there were some great moments, but I was just sad the way it ended.
I was just looking at the stats, and he was someone who obviously when we signed him, I don't think he was that old. I think he was 31-ish, maybe 32, which obviously in football isn't that old, but I think he must have already played at that point 600, 700 games, which so in terms of like actual legs and stuff, maybe it wasn't the sign that we thought it might be, because he's already got all them miles on the tank type thing. And it just didn't work out. It was just as you said, Bob, it was one of them seasons, wasn't it? Where, it certainly wasn't his fault that we had such a bad season, and then to ship him out, I imagine maybe that was to do with wages or something like that. It just sort of happened on the slide, didn't it, really? It wasn't like a big send-off or anything. It just sort of, oh, by the way, he's going to America. I suppose he didn't, as you say, didn't get that send-off himself. So, an interesting one, really, because wouldn't say it was terrible, but maybe more sad rather than bad.
That's what I'm going for, because I'm going for it was great that we had this sentimental reunion, but then it was just sad for him, and I think everybody that it was over so quickly. Kind of like his first spell, I suppose.
Yeah, but at least that the first one was on the cards, wasn't it, and stuff like that. And we knew he was never going to stay at Everton. How good he was. He was an unbelievable footballer. Even at 16, he was just head and shoulders above anyone in our team.
He did that thing on Toffee TV, didn't he?
Oh, that was funny.
I don't know whether we're allowed to say that word, Sean, or will be censored. So
I don't know. It's a swear word in some houses, but not in others. I don't know.
I'll just tell people to watch that interview with Rooney then.
It is the way he delivers it. So funny, yeah.
And he's great. He's great in the Wagatha Christie documentary as well.
That seals it, really. Right then, let's go to Sean. Who's your suggestion, please, Sean?
Okay, mine is actually in a very similar field to Bob's, to be fair. Mine's...
is he a footballer?
Yeah. So, it's kind of like a player who was at a club, left for a bigger and better club, and then for years those fans just wanted them back, but it just kind of never felt like it was going to happen. And when it did eventually happen, in my opinion, again, it's very similar to Bob's. It's not that it was a bad time, because if you look back on it actually wasn't. It just wasn't what everyone expected it to be. So rather than talking in riddles, I'll tell you that my nominee this week is Gareth Bale, who returned to Tottenham in 2020. And when he came back, it was a very, very late transfer, as far as I remember, viewed by many people as a bit of a panic buy, because obviously it felt like he was leaving Real Madrid for about 5 years before that. Every summer he'd come in, he'd fall out with the manager, the fans hated him, and then he'd stay, he'd score in a Champions League final, repeat, and it just kept happening. So when he finally did come to Tottenham, it was a bit of a huge deal. Even like, I remember, obviously not as a Tottenham fan, I remember being really excited about the thought of having Bale back, because when he was in the Premier League, I loved him. I thought he was great. Obviously Real Madrid the same, and then he came back, and I remember buzzing about it. And then it's one of those where with a transfer like that, you almost want it to kind of, I don't know, to just fire straight away. And he turned up at Tottenham, got injured as he always was, and then spent the first few months on the bench. And then he finally scored, having done my research, in November. So a couple of months after having started playing, he finally got his first goal in November. Everyone thought, right, here we go. And then in terms of the Premier League, didn't score again until February. If you look back at his time his second spell at Tottenham. I think from that period, from about February, he scored about 12 goals in about 18 games or something, which obviously his record there stands up really well. But it's always against like little snide teams. Like he scored hat-tricks against Sheffield United. He scored a couple against Palace, I think, Brighton. He scored against some mad teams in the Europa League. It was just like he never seemed to, one, play well against the big teams, but also didn't really get the nod against big teams because I just don't think he was trusted enough. He was obviously not the Gareth Bale he used to be. He was very slow. He didn't track back. He just didn't seem to be able to do it in the big games, which is what he was famous for at Tottenham the first time and then again at Real Madrid. So he just kind of wasn't the Gareth Bale everyone thought he was. And I think, again, if you look back, Tottenham fans would probably say, oh, it was great to have him back. He didn't actually play that bad. He played quite well. Some of his goals are genuinely really good. But what makes it even sadder, which I think sets it apart from Bob's and probably your two as well, was that when he came back, it was COVID season and no one was there to see him. So it was like you can finally get your big hero back, but you can't go. Everton fans still talk about James, don't they? Now we never got the chance to see him. Tottenham fans never got that chance really to see Bale. I know at the end of that season they started inviting fans back, I think. But he only scored in one game where there were fans there and it was away at Leicester. So again, Tottenham fans didn't even get that chance because no one was travelling then. Bob's very eager for me to mention another thing. The main memory of mine was when he played against my old haunt, Marine, in the FA Cup. And I remember, obviously, it was at the time, I was a big Marine fan.
Are you not now?
Not so much anymore, no.
Why?
A year of doing the social media scarred me, Bob.
Oh, right, okay.
So
I was there on Saturday.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Good
And
pants.
I remember he came on second half sometime, and you're thinking, right, Gareth Bale, Champions League winner multiple times, he'll tear these apart. Couldn't even get on the score sheet against Marine. Now, I'm not saying I could against Marine, but all I'm saying is I've scored on that pitch. I've scored 3 on that pitch, in fact. How many's Gareth Bale scored? Nada. Yeah, exactly. So 1-0 me.
I'm not sure about that.
But an interesting fact for you.
How many bicycle kicks have you scored against Liverpool?
2, I think.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. 2-1 then.
Yeah. No, but actually, here's a little fact. It's not relevant, but it is quite cool. That exact pitch, because obviously Marine got loads of money for the Tottenham game. Got a 3G Astro put in. And I actually scored in the last ever game on that pitch. So I've played on the same pitch that Gareth Bale played on, and I scored on it. So I don't care if I win this week.
You got a better left peg as well, Sean.
Well, yeah. That has been said before. Yeah, so I think I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know if it's I think what you're saying is fair. I think that I was going to mention when I hadn't about the fact it was COVID and stuff like that. It does put a damper on it. But yeah, I think he was very much on the demise there, wasn't he? As you mentioned, he wasn't playing that much for Madrid. He was just, I don't think anyone really knew the Bale he were going to get. So, but yeah, he scored a few goals, he did a few things. Probably similar to Rooney in that sense, I reckon.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just when you think back to what they used to be. But obviously, I feel like, me personally, I saw more of Rooney because he was still in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But Bale was almost out of sight, out of mind in a way, if you're not watching La Liga or Champions League. So you half still expect the Bale of old. And then...
Yeah.
I just think by that time, I just think he wasn't bothered with football.
Yeah,
At the time, he just didn't like football. So I think it was just the case, I'll go back to Tottenham and I'll take that, see what happens with it being COVID. It might even be in a case of I don't know, just maybe possibly even just get back to England or whatever, be closer to family and stuff. You wouldn't know, would you? Just easy option, go back to Spurs. Yeah, I just don't think he cared about football at that time. So he's never going to kind of push on. I don't think was he, and I don't think it was going to be a long-term thing for him. So yeah, it's sad that he didn't get to see him. I think obviously with this and what we've seen with the Rooney one and that, and maybe with a couple of others we'll mention, is that these homecomings and these sort of fairy tales are very, very rare. That happens like that. The players are never the same as you remember. They're never as good. As you say, they've had 10, 15 years of worth of wear and tear from then. The older, the slower. It just doesn't happen like you dream it to happen, does it? So yeah, I think it's a fairly good shout, Sean.
Also, on that point, as Sean alluded to, it's like in both them deals, they were going from a smaller club to a big club, and then back from a bigger club to a smaller club, which them bigger clubs don't make them decisions lightly, are they? They're not. Man United were never going to give a prime Rooney back to Everton. Real Madrid were never going to give a prime Bale back to Tottenham. So yeah, I think Sean made that point, which is a good one. Right, I think I'll go next. I think mine's slightly different. I don't know what Carl's going actually, but I'll go. My one, I've been a bit like with Bob and Baines. I've been waiting to put Maradona into a category. So my failed return is Maradona returning to the Argentina team for the 1994 World Cup. So to give a bit of context for those who maybe aren't aware, I'm sure most people would be aware they won the World Cup. Well, Maradona won it pretty much single-handedly in 1986. In 1990, again, pretty much single-handedly dragged them to the final. And after that, he had a bit of a terrible 4 years, really. He didn't play for 3 years for Argentina. So after the final, he didn't make another appearance, I don't think, till 1993, just in preparation for the World Cup. He served a drugs ban that was served from his time in Italy. So he left Napoli under a bit of a cloud. He'd served a 15-month drug ban, I think, in 1991, leading into 92. And a lot of people were thinking his career was over. During that time, Argentina won the Copa America for the first time in a long time. Maradona never actually won it. Argentina won that with a newly developed team, people like Simeone, Batistuta, Ortega all coming through. And Maradona decided to return for the 94 World Cup, and he got himself super fit, got him in a great state. When you see pictures of him, he looks like really slim and sharp. And the Argentina team started that World Cup on fire. They won the first two games, one of which 4-0 against Greece, in which Maradona scores an unbelievable goal. I actually prefer that goal to both of his against England. A lovely, if you've not seen it, type in Maradona goal versus Greece. A lovely, like, one-touch move, which results in him just smacking one into the top corner from the edge of the D. It also results in a very famous celebration with him running up to the camera, screaming into the camera as a sort of, this is his redemption sort of thing. A lot of people then say that was what led some people to claim that he was on drugs, and he was subsequently, after that game, taken for a random drugs test. And there's a famous picture of him sort of being walked off the pitch with the nurse, and him sort of like hugging the nurse and waving and laughing and like he's just already won the World Cup. And then famously, that drug test was failed, and he left the World Cup. He never played for Argentina again. He did play football again. He did actually return to Boca Juniors for a couple of years, but his return to the World Cup was cut short after 2 games. And again, that Argentina team with him probably would have had a good chance of winning it. As I say, they were Copa American champions. Brazil were in that competition. Brazil went on to win the World Cup in 94. Argentina didn't go on to win another game. So I like to pick Maradona for that one, for what could have been. I think there's a good chance Argentina could have won that World Cup in America. And I think if they'd have done that with Maradona return, I think the debate about who's the best of all time would be a lot closer between him and Messi. I think even closer than it is now, really. So yeah, that's going to be my suggestion for a bad return, even though there is hints of good. He got that goal out for it. He played in the World Cup. I think he became, during that World Cup, the record appearance holder as well of a World Cup. I haven't checked that one out, but that just came to the top of my head. It has been beaten since. I think Messi is now the record appearance holder in the World Cup. I think at the time he played in that was his 4th World Cup. I think his number of appearances has been to a final and won it, obviously. So yeah, Diego Maradona. And I've also brought Marrowdona to a show.
No books.
Actually, now you say it, Bob, thank you for the prompt. I brought this week's book from years ago. I reckon I've read this about 5 or 6 times when I was younger. El Diego, his autobiography, a very good read, in which he claims he wasn't drugged. It was the drink's fault. It was a different drink in America than it was to South America. So that, I think it was ephedrine, was the drug. And he says that if he was drinking the same drink that he drinks in Argentina, that doesn't contain drugs in Argentina, but does in America. We won't comment on that one.
See, weirdly, Tosh, I've not seen that photo before. The one of them leaving.
One of me and Marrowdona, or?
No, I've seen that loads of times. The one of them with the nurse walking off the pitch. So I've just Googled it. Do you think, because obviously he's walking off with his flag in his hand, and
Yeah.
do you think he almost knows, like, it might be up here?
I don't know. He was a very much like he wore his heart on his sleeve. You know, like I think if he knew that the game was up, I think he'd be devastated.
Oh, do
I
you?
genuinely just think like he was like, no, like he's like going to talk forever about Maradona, but yeah, I think he was just generally happy. He'd just qualified for the second round. He'd won the first two games in a great position. He was back. He hadn't played. I think there was a genuine delight from him, and I just don't think in the way I think he would have ever thought that was going to happen. I think there's part of me that does think he generally didn't know he was on them. I don't know. That's maybe the optimistic part of me that thinks that, but he thinks he was like framed. He wasn't, FIFA weren't big fans of him. He'd already served a drug ban. There's an argument. You think he floats that he might have been framed, but again, it's hard. He was obviously into all sorts. So
I'd never
I
put
don't
you
know.
down as an optimist, Tosh.
Always have been, Bob. Always have, always will be. No, I think, yeah, that's something that came to my mind, I think. Yeah. And again, anyone who hasn't watch that goal. Fantastic goal. And again, that team, a great kit as well, like a weirdly coloured kit, that Argentina kit, fantastic. Yeah. Any other
Hard,
thoughts?
hard to argue against Marrowdona, really. Do you reckon Shilton's voting him onto the island?
If Shilton could reach. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, deviant, but different. Right. Okay, then let's go for our last member. Callum, who's your suggestion to be Marooned 5?
My suggestion for Marooned 5 on bad returns is someone who's had possibly 2 bad returns, to be fair. I'm going to go Paul Pogba, who was maybe at one point one of the best sort of players, maybe best midfielders in the world, so highly rated, so much potential. But then he's just sort of had these crazy ups and downs sort of throughout his career. Obviously, he had youth sort of career at Manchester United in that very sort of highly rated team. I think they were, supposed one of the best sort of youth teams that they've kind of ever been. He broke through into the first team, made a few appearances, and then he was kind of sold off to Juventus, where that's where he became sort of the player he was known as, and that kind of real elite sort of best midfielder in the world, and this new type of midfielder for the modern game, and really athletic, sort of tall, like really skillful, really technically very good, sort of really physically good as well. And then obviously United come calling, the biggest club in the world, and maybe probably at the time the biggest player in the world, also the most talked about for his return. It was like, the return of the prodigal son, almost that, okay, we helped to create him, we're bringing him back now, look how good he is. And it just didn't end up like that. He had a few good appearances and he had a few good spells, and we just never sort of reached the level that he was always sort of tipped to reach. He always just flattered to deceive a bit, and I think it was plagued with injuries as well. And he just never seemed to be fully fit or fully on it, I don't think. He just sort of didn't quite work out the way they hoped, and the career at Manchester United just sort of declined quite quickly. And obviously, he had that second return of going back to Juventus, having left them to go to Manchester United, which obviously we know ended in absolute disaster with a performance-enhancing drugs charge, which I think is the case still possibly ongoing. But it looks like he's possibly guilty of that, which is crazy. And it's sad for someone who's like so highly rated and so, not that long ago was one of the supposed best players in the world, to decline so quickly and have, potentially his last transfer to Juventus was like, redemption. Could he sort of go back there and hit the heights and go to maybe a league that's possibly a bit easier and just kind of be out the way a bit and go back to being, a favourite at Juventus? It didn't really work, so that was definitely a sad return for him. And then even the sort of one Manchester United where you think if that has worked out, he's kind of like goes into like that superstar kind of sort of level, I think, where if that works out at Manchester United, then he becomes the player that he was expected to be, but it didn't work out. So yeah, a player who's had two big transfers and two bad returns. Yeah, I think it's sad for him, not great. And I think there's obviously been external reasons for that, injuries, obviously this drugs charge and thing as well. So yeah, not the greatest returns for someone so highly rated.
Why do you think? I love Pogba. He really frustrates me that he hasn't become, because as you say, Callum, he had everything. No, I remember like discussing, 4 or 5 years ago, when obviously that United and the Mourinho you saying about, he's got everything to be like as good as someone like a De Bruyne, and if anything, he's more physical and athletic, and it just always frustrated me. And I think the argument used to get thrown, like you'd see him for France. He obviously won the World Cup for France, and apparently one of the leaders in the dressing room, and scored in a World Cup final. I just always frustrated me. I just never really understood why. I don't know why. He seems like whenever you see him in interviews, he comes across as quite a good lad, I think, as well. Like, quite engaging, quite funny, but there's clearly something wrong there. Like that, even when he was fit, he just too many games. He just thought he's not bothered him. He doesn't care. He just sort of standing there. And for someone of his ability to, he's had opportunities. It's Man United, Juventus, are two of the biggest clubs in Europe, and I suppose he's had two opportunities at both of them. And first one, the Juve, good, but it's always one that frustrated me a lot.
He probably wasn't helped by going back to Man United, a club in free fall. Where the
There's a time where they were on the way up, though, wasn't he?
But it's probably not an ideal environment to go into.
Maybe fell out with me. I didn't. His first year there, he won the UEFA, Europa League, he won the League Cup, but you just felt he was the man to take that. I don't know. He could have been the man to take them back. He's that good. He's that good.
He was made out to be a scapegoat as well, wasn't he? When things started going wrong.
But even that, yeah, you're right. But he's £100 million footballer. There's a right to expect him to be good. And I think for someone like me, when I'd criticise him, it was because knowing he was that good.
Yeah.
He should be dominating games. He should be win United League. I remember, Gary Neville used to predict him to be like player of the season every year on Monday Night Football, because everyone knew how good he was and how good he could be, and he just never delivered.
Yeah, you just always thought that there was another 2 levels. He kind of could have gone. You just knew there was more there, but he never seemed to be the player too. I don't know if that's personality wise or not. I'm not too sure. The fact they've done it for France maybe shows that maybe it was a decision, or maybe, as Bob said, it's just not the right environment. But yeah, someone who's had 2 bad returns, I'll throw him up there.
I also think it's quite sad for him if you think about like the reputation he could have if he achieved what he was capable of compared to what he is. As in, like, obviously now he might be considered a drug cheat or whatever, but he's now known to most people as, like, whenever you have a player in your squad who's like a bit of a diva, they compare to Pogba now. Like, if you look at like Sancho or someone like that,
or Damari Gray.
Well, I don't think he's as widely spoken about, to be fair, Bob, but you're probably right. It's now the go-to is, oh yeah, he's like Pogba, where you think like that's how he'll be known to a lot of European football fans. Do you know what I mean? As when I
don't know whether if they will. I suppose
I think
it
in
depends
France,
how much.
It
Depends how much people listen to Graham Souness, I suppose.
Yeah. I think in France, he's still like, I don't know now, obviously with the recent scandal, but even like for the last World Cup 2022, and he obviously wasn't playing much for Juventus and stuff like that, there was still a hope that he'd be the one, he'd come back and play for France and be the man who like this or that. I think he's revered in France. I think he certainly was when they won the World Cup, and obviously he would be. But I know what you mean, Sean. I think
it might just be an English thing.
It is, yeah. I think it is. And I think that is few, because it's a different sort of game, isn't it? We don't, historically, we don't get on with that type of football. He is a bit of a maverick, isn't he? But right, so I'll move on to the obvious bit then. We still haven't done the obvious one.
God, it's 10-2. Jesus, yeah, go on.
Should we just don't do it and see if anyone notices?
Will anyone know? You know what? Should we just swear it, because it's David Cameron, isn't it? Just go, right, you know what, we've decided we're not going to have an obvious one. It's just between us four.
Well, that's on Marooned 5, is then?
No, but no one's going to know. No, honest to God, no one will know. We haven't done 5 there.
Okay, go on then. We do need to move on.
Not the thickos who listen to this.
That's staying it.
If they say, just put it on and just say it was Ronaldo.
Yeah. Right, so I'm just moving on. Okay, then, that brings to an end another Marooned 5. Some good debate there once again for our famous returns. So after David Cameron returning, we had Wayne Rooney, Gareth Bale, Diego Maradona, and then Paul Pogba as our failed returns. Get on to X and vote, and let's see if we can get as many votes as last week and try and see if we can get such a close one. So, as mentioned, we're going to pass over straight to keeping up appearances for an international themed one. I'll hand over to Sean.
Right. So obviously, I'm in charge of the wheel, but our wheel this week isn't determined by fixtures. Instead, we're going to do what we did last time and all select an international country each, which will then go into the wheel. So, does anyone have a preference on a country, or anyone like to go first?
Italy.
Okay, Tosh has gone early with Italy.
Croatia.
Yes. I think you're on mute, Cal. I think you said Holland.
It's
Yeah, he
Holland. Good lip reading, Holland.
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands, yeah, you get banned for that on certain channels. So
Okay. I think you just mouthed the Netherlands, didn't you, Callum?
Yeah, no, that's all it was, yeah.
Yeah. And I will go Sweden.
Got me Everton link there already.
Yeah.
got loads. We can all do an Everton one. Don't mention them
So-
though, because they might actually be one.
So there are four. We've got Tosh. I'm sorry. We've got Italy. Oh no.
Sean O'Hara.
It's begun. We've got Italy, Croatia, Netherlands, and Sweden. Right. Let's spin the wheel. Oh, it's just crept in to Croatia.
Oh no.
Get in. That is a tricky one. I was going to go like
gone worse.
Estonia or something like that, but I thought it'd go slightly easier.
Right. So before we start getting depressed, should we get the random number? So it's between 1 and 150. Is that right?
20.
120. Sorry. Right. Numbers are in, and our number this week is 68, which I swear is that
It's the
Alex
same
Shearer
one.
number.
I was just about to say. Let it not be 68. It's been 68 for the 3 international ones.
Right, we'll do it again. I'm not doing that again. Although it absolutely means nothing for Croatia. Right. New number, because this is getting stupid now.
I hope it's 68 again.
It's 17.
Oh my god, that couldn't be any worse. We're now going for a low
That's
price.
great, that.
This is going to be chaos.
You're just basically going for the player you think's played for Croatia least.
Yeah, out of the 4, you know.
Is there anything to stop me just saying, like, if there's a random Croatian person I know who never even played football, who's going to have 0 caps?
No, you come last. That's disqualification.
That wasn't stipulated in the rules, so.
Well, actually, the generator's 1 and 120. Tosh, so 0's not in. Got you on a technicality.
I can only apologise for the mess I've put us in here.
No, have we got a song for the week?
I've got a couple
Croatians?
of ideas. Either Piggies by the Beatles, or there's a song called Pigs by Pink Floyd.
Why are we doing pigs?
Cameron themed.
Come on, Tosh. That's
Oh.
your.
Is that a no?
Northern Beatles 2 weeks in a row. Come on.
Yeah, listen to either of them if you want. Done.
Do we have to know the first name?
No, because I got away with what's his name, didn't I?
Kirali.
Karali, that's the one.
Was he Croatian by any chance? Or?
Couldn't remember his first or surname there, Sean.
I know.
How many Croatian players do you reckon you could name?
Maybe 6. But 4 of those are definitely made like a daft number of appearances.
Do you reckon Modric just got over 17 appearances?
Probably.
He'd probably be outside the limit. He probably would lose, but by
Yeah, probably
Sean's
more,
game,
yeah.
he probably would be outside 120.
I think this is going to be who's the least most. Well, I think they're all going to be miles away, but who's just going to be the...
Yeah. Do you know what, Cal?
That is the idea of the game, Callum.
It's not really. The idea of the game
It's kind of.
This is going to come down to who is closest to 17.
But what I mean is, I think we're all going to be like up quite high. It's going to be used. I don't think anyone's going to be close.
What happens if we pick? What happens if we pick somebody who's not great? Like the fella I'm thinking, he was only around for a bit. I can't remember if he was Croatian.
I think it's a no then,
Automatic
isn't it?
0.
Yeah.
Automatic
I don't
zero
think he would have had
appearances,
he
17
would
out
have
there.
He would have had 17 appearances for Croatia, if not.
This is going to be a classic. This could be way off, isn't it?
It is.
We all could be way off, to be honest. Get that out of the mud.
This fella could live way off.
This fella could have been born way off.
Can I check if my fella's Croatian or?
No.
No.
Ah.
You wouldn't let me have a sticker book 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I've actually got an idea.
Yeah, Sean had an idea to have a sticker book.
I've actually got the way you should have done it, to be honest, but I'm not going to tell anyone. I reckon if I knew some Croatians, I'd be able to tell you the way to do it, but
What?
I'm not telling that until everyone's confirmed.
What do you mean?
I'm telling you.
Okay.
I think I've got someone. I'm happy to go with who I've got.
I've got 2. But one, I don't know if the name's right, and 2, I don't know if he's Croatian.
That's good.
Bit of a struggle, that Sean.
Yeah.
So when you say you've got someone,
Yeah, it is Harry Kane I've got.
Ridiculous. I think I've got one.
You should be all right at this, Tosh, though, with like World Cups through the years and that.
Yeah, well, but yeah, as I say, though, you still the high profile ones are going to have made more. Right, so we all got to guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, my thinking was Croatia, with a country really. So like, there was a set of players who like played for Yugoslavia before Croatia. So like, I was thinking there was that team that got to the semis in '98. They'd have played lots of times, but not always. So I was trying to think of someone at the end of their career. So there was 2 in mind. I'm going to say them both. I don't know if anyone will have had the second one. Robert Prozinecki. But I think even then, because I know he played in '98, so he'd still have been around for 5 or 6 years at least. But the other one, I'm not sure is even Croatian. Right, I'll go with Robert Prozinecki because I know he's Croatian. The other one was, again, I don't think anyone. Well, you can have him anyway. Remember that Perso who played up front? Is he your guess?
Yeah. Don't he used to play for Rangers?
Is he the one you said you're not sure if he's Croatian?
Yeah.
No,
he scored like 4 or 5 in one
you are
game
joking.
in Europe, didn't he?
Is he in your sticker book?
No, I haven't got the SPL one.
He scored like he played for Monaco and he scored like 4 or 5 in one game. I remember that. And I think he was Croatian, and I reckon he'll probably be less than Robert Prozinecki. But I'm going to go Robert Prozinecki because he was a great player. He was better than Perso. And I'm hoping he played for Yugoslavia as well. I think he did. So I'm hoping if he would have played for that length of time, he'd have had 100 caps easy because he was there forever. But right, I've spoken too long about Robert Prozinecki and Perso.
that's the most anyone's ever spoken about.
Yeah.
Do you want to go next then, Sean?
Well, I'm telling you, we're changing it now because Tosha said he was playing at Monaco. I just assumed he was rubbish because he was at Rangers.
No, if I knew that he was Croatian, I'd be going for him ahead of Robert Prozinecki, I reckon. So, but
I've actually got another player in my head. Can I say
should-
it out loud and see what you think?
I was going to say there's probably not enough Croatians to be dangling names out loud. But go on then.
Was Alan Boksic? Was he?
Oh, he'll be same character type as Prozinecki as well.
That's what I remembered him from when he played at Borough. Was he at Borough?
Yeah, he was brilliant.
But
he'd be similar to Prozinecki, where he'll have played for Yugoslavia.
Right. Well, I'm going with Alan Boksic then because I want to. I think Tosh knows the score, so I'm going similar era. So I'll go Alan Boksic.
I still think Perso would have been a better answer, but you've said it now.
Oh,
I genuinely do. I think Boksic have played a lot of time, but I don't know.
Because I was thinking of that 2002 squad. Remember when Graham Poll booked someone who else?
2006.
Oh, that's 2006. I had a player in my head, the one he booked. But I think that Perso would have played around then, wouldn't he?
Can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right. I will go for surprisingly an Everton link, Bob. I hope I haven't taken it from you.
I'm always certain you have.
I was thinking him as well.
I'm going to go with Jelavic.
Oh no!
Song of the week, Sean Jelavic. Yeah, what am I talking about? Song of the week can be Katrina and the Waves or whatever they're called. The Jelavic
Casey
song.
and the Sunshine Band.
Same thing. It was. You have pinched my guess, Callum. So
I was thinking of a different Everton link.
And I was just thinking there's another one, isn't there?
Vlasic.
I was thinking Vlasic. I thought he'd either
I
had
had
less
two.
than.
So yeah, I'll go Yelovich.
I'll start checking the other ones just because again it should be easy. I can go on Wikipedia for this one.
Dado Perso's available, Bob.
You can't have him, Bob.
I'm doubting whether he's Croatian now, but the centre half for City, Vardiol, is he Croatian?
Yes,
He's only young, isn't he?
that's probably not a bad shout. I didn't even
I'll
think
say
doing a current one.
Callum's absolutely gutted here.
I'll say him. I'll say Vardiol. Obviously wanted to go for Yelovich.
Not tempted by Vlasic.
No, because he's not an Everton icon, is he? Whereas Yelovich is.
Right, I've started checking. I'm just doing Wikipedia because that wouldn't be wrong on that. Something as outright as international caps.
I've just checked Dado Perso. Not that far off, you know.
You're messing me.
No.
Was he Croatian?
Yeah. He only played for Croatia for 3 years. I thought he'd play longer. He's only played 3 years.
For God's sake.
I mean, he's not dead close, like, but
Well,
The real quiz was guessing if they're from Croatia, I think, this week.
I would say that it's quite a good one,
yeah.
Bob. I actually quite enjoyed that this week. That was good. Right, I've got the scores. I think that's it. What was this? What was it? 17?
yeah.
68.
We'll check the maths on that. Okay, then results are in. I actually think reasonably good guesses there for the number and the country. I think we've done quite well. In fourth position this week with 49 caps was Robert Prozanecki. Just having a little look at his Wikipedia, he only played for Yugoslavia for a couple of years. I misjudged his age, so sort of thought he'd been around long before that. So yeah, I'm in fourth place this week. In third place with 40 caps was Alan Boksic. So Sean in third. In second place with 36 caps was Yelovich, which means that with 25 caps, Gvardiol was this week's winner, only 8 out.
Cheers, Cal.
Good shout, Bob.
Very good guy. I didn't even think of trying to guess someone who'd just come around as a really good guess. What was what was Pearso out of interest, Sean?
32. He got second place.
Ah, well.
The only other current players I could think of would have been on daft numbers.
Vlasic has got 52 caps.
That's early.
Yeah.
Well, good call. Not going for him, Bob. It was his stuff. Right then.
Okay, then. So if we take a look at our updated league table, still at the top with 41 points, we've got Tosh closing in behind, both on 38 points. We've got Callum and Bob. And then rock bottom with 34, drifting further away, is Sean.
So your points since week 10, Sean, 4, 0, 4, 1, 1, 1, 2.
Jesus. Yeah, that's zeros heavy. Sorry, Cal.
So that's all for this week's episode of Keeping Up Appearances. Again, we had some great debate on Marooned 5, some horror returns mentioned, some nostalgia as well, and then a very good, hard international version of Keeping Up Appearances this week, thanks to Bob's Croatia shout, and then he managed to pull out a great Croatian answer, so maybe there's a bit of a Stewart's inquiry needed there. But yeah, we have an exciting podcast plan for next week, American themed, and we possibly have a special guest. Marrowdona has came to join us, which we are thankful for today, and we will see you all next week.
Bob, I wouldn't be having that. Callum calling you a cheat.
We can slag him off when he leaves, can't we, Sean?
Yeah.
You can, yeah. That's fine.
You want the photo of just Marrowdona or me as well?
No, I reckon you as well. Right, are we ready?
Do you want the back of it? No, you're gone.
Bloody hell, Tosh. Right.
Actually, do it again, Sean.
Why? That's a really good one.
Because I've got my big clumpy hand in the way.
Now it looks like you're holding his willy.
Have you done it, Sean?
Put him on my shoulder.
Go on then.
I'm gonna.
Ready?
I've done it.
Done, okay, cool. You keep saying Tosh keeps posing.
I think Tosh does that anyway when we're on here.
Just get one of me and Marrowdona just for the archive.
For another mug.
And what about one with the mug?
Oh yeah, get the mug in. That's a good shout.
Oh,
Go
for
on.
God's sake.
No,
Come on.
Sean. Well, are we actually getting one with the mug in?
I'll just get one of you. Done.
Oh,
Right.
don't get one of just me.
No,
Right,
it's you,
cheers
and
like
Maro- it's you and Marrowdona.
All right then. I'll
See
accept.
you like that.
You like to go?
Bye.
Yeah, got a cheat there, Bob. I wouldn't have that.
You think the cheating bad's this? We wait until he comes on next week.